It's nice to have the President of the United States here, isn't it? And it's great to have the First Lady. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. You may be seated. And we will begin the program. We are so glad y'all are all here today. And for our foreign friends, I did say y'all. There are a lot of things we appreciate about England and the British, but they didn't give us a second person plural, and we had to fill that in. It's y'all. So we're glad y'all are here. That y'all includes everyone here, as well as the hundreds in the overflow room that are joining us by video. It includes a C-SPAN audience, and we have many faithful people that are praying for this breakfast right now in the prayer room. So together, Janice and I lead the House of Representatives prayer breakfast every Thursday morning from 8 to 9 when we're in session. And this is just an adjunct of what the Senate prayer breakfast does on Thursdays and what the House prayer breakfast of congressional members does on Thursdays. But one thing is sure, the singing today will be much better than we have at our breakfast.
We're pretty good.
Yeah, but I will not be singing today. That already makes it much better. And I do have to say, though, the breakfast is better where we eat than this, but that's another matter.
These people paid a lot of money. I know. These people paid a lot of money for this breakfast, Louie.
Well, I wish it were really true that you get what you pay for, but
you know, you can see why there's such a trials and tribulations of this man. You know, I came to Congress not that long ago, just about 2.5 years ago. And when I stepped off the plane here in Washington, D.C., I remember reflecting on the great words of Jesus. Turn the other cheek, forgive 70 times 7. And I thought, that'll get me through the first week. You know, I grew up, I don't know how many of you grew up with the red letter Bible, the Bible that highlighted the words of Jesus. And I thought about that a lot too. This is the Jesus who said, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who treat you badly. He also said, everyone who makes themselves important will be made humble, but everyone who makes themselves humble will be made important. He said, whoever wants to be your leader must be your servant. And Jesus said, it's the sick people who need a doctor, not those who are healthy. For I did not come to invite good people, but to invite sinners. You know, those words used to be easier to live by before I came to Congress, where fighting for leadership and sound bites and making the evening news is common practice around here. And the House is a pretty cantankerous place these days, as I'm sure you've all heard. But what we're trying to do in our prayer group is provide an oasis from all of that, a sanctuary from all the bitter discourse. And as you can imagine, it's not easy, but it's working. Coming together around Jesus and prayer has a way of calming us down and opening us up to new possibilities. You know, my faith in Jesus is inherited from a legacy from two great, strong women. My grandmother on my mother's side was a Church of Christ missionary and was born in Tokyo, Japan. And my grandmother on my father's side, Hattie Hahn, in a moment of great despair, turned to God for strength when she was faced with the task of raising 7 little boys, all under the age of 10, when her husband suddenly died. So that journey of faith from both those women ultimately helped me find my journey of faith, and has always been a great source of inspiration. I believe in the power of prayer and its ability to unlock doors and soften hearts. Our weekly prayer group in the house is very important and essential in keeping me grounded in my faith and my hope for change. And I cannot imagine doing this job in Congress without that fellowship. But I'll be honest, it's not always been easy. It's a struggle. Some days you have to dig deep to find the resolve to love your enemies and put aside your fundamental differences and pray for each other. I got to tell you, I had to dig really deep, Louie, when you held that press conference criticizing that poor woman for buying crab legs with her food stamps. You weren't even there. For all we know, it was imitation crab. I mean, really. I mean, such a cruel thing. We hope that our experience here today encourage you to think about a fellowship of non-like-minded people where you are, with the Lord in the middle of it all.
I love her. What can I say? But then again, I got a sister who's a Democrat, and so, but that's how I grew up. There were 4 siblings, and we would argue and fuss, but we loved each other, and we could still enjoy each other, and heaven help anybody that tried to come after one of the 4 of us, because we were tight. No matter what we argued about right before, somebody might try to take us on. So you might understand, then it's easy for me. I feel like I'm right at home, the fussing and the back and forth. People said, were you ready for Washington, all the backstabbing and meanness? And I explained, I was a deacon of a Baptist church. You know, I was ready. But I was blessed to come from a family where my mother and father were followers of Jesus, and sometime after my father died, my mother died, my father remarried, and my stepmother and father are here somewhere, and she loves me, go figure. And but I was raised in a home of followers of Jesus, so that wasn't too terribly difficult. We learned that Jesus was the only great leader in the history who said, I am the way, the truth, the life. No one goes to paradise except going through me. And so, as C.S. Lewis said, he didn't give us a lot of choice. You have to either believe he was a liar, in essence, or a lunatic, or he was who he said he was, Lord. Now, it kind of reminded me of when I had Kathy one day ask me, hey, Louie, you want supper? And I said, sure, what's the choices? And she said, yes or no. You know, that's kind of the choice you get. But anyway, but a lawyer, and my dad, it took him a while to get over. Mother and Dad wanted me to go to med school, and were pretty brokenhearted when I went to law school, but Dad's kind of recovered somewhat from that. But it was a lawyer that asked Jesus, tell us, what is the greatest commandment? He said, love the Lord. And he said, the second's like it, love one another. And on those 2 things hang all of the other law, everything in Scripture. And that really came true for me. It made more sense. My mother was found to have a brain tumor in the late 70s. They told her it could be back in a year. It could be 20 years. Well, it took 15 before it took her. The neurologist at one point said she may have 6 months to live. At that point, this brilliant woman that put herself through Baylor without anybody else's financial help, working full time, she was amazing. She was reduced to a wheelchair, and she could not really speak without really struggling. And so our families, all 4 of the siblings, our families would come and spend time. But we decided just the 4 children, one would go spend a weekend with Mother, since we were getting closer to the end. And it was great. Saturday morning, we sat around the breakfast table, and there we were, good-natured, but going back and forth, giving each other a hard time, but remembering things, discussing old times, laughing. We were probably there 2-3 hours before Mother finally was able to struggle and speak a word. But it had been such a wonderful time, just laughing and enjoying, bringing Mother, reminding her of great things and fun times. And she finally spoke up and she said, we got quiet. She's the reason we were there. We would have waited all night. She struggled on and said, is my favorite thing. The next day, that came clear as I drove home. What were we doing? We were loving her. We were loving each other. And if you were the heavenly parent, wouldn't that be your 2 favorite things as well? And that's what we come together to do here today.